As we continue to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, there's a lot of focus and attention on a vaccine. And on that front, there is some good news. There are two very promising candidates, one from Pfizer and one from Moderna, that have shown vaccine efficacy of more than 90% based on the interim results they are reporting from their phase 3 clinical trials. And both have now submitted to the FDA a request for what they call emergency use authorization or an EUA. So in the coming weeks, you are likely going to hear a lot about emergency use authorization. What is it? How does it work? How is it different from the regular approval process, which can take up to months or years to approve these vaccines or other medical products? More importantly, how can we trust a vaccine that has been quickly developed and rushed through an approval process through this emergency use authorization? So there'll be a lot of questions and concerns among the public. Hello everyone, I'm Naveen Agarwal and welcome to my weekly video update. In this video, I want to give you a high-level overview of the EUA process. What criteria FDA uses to grant an emergency use authorization for a medical product. But most importantly, I want to give you an actual walkthrough of FDA's EUA website. It is a great resource, and this is where I go when I want to research a topic for one of my videos. And in the past, I've talked about medical diagnostics for COVID-19, PPE, some other medical products, and now I'm focusing on vaccines. You can find these videos on my YouTube channel, and please subscribe to my channel if you want to be updated frequently whenever I publish a new video. So I'm going to give you the source, because when you hear all these stories in the news media, it is always best to go directly to the source to look up the information that FDA has reviewed and published for public awareness. Keep in mind, for vaccines, they will also be doing open public meetings. And if you have time, you can attend those, or you can watch those recordings at your leisure. But what I would recommend is that go straight to the source and learn as much as you can so you can make an informed decision on your own. So let's look into this. First, I want to talk about briefly the criteria that FDA uses. So FDA can authorize emergency use of an unapproved medical product or an unapproved use of an already approved medical product based on the following criteria. The nature of the emergency, how risky it is, and certainly COVID-19 falls into this category of life-threatening condition and disease. We have already lost hundreds of thousands of people. Then FDA looks at the totality of evidence of effectiveness. Certainly the bar is lower than the regular approval, because FDA is evaluating all possible alternatives and the nature of the emergency. So it's a risk-benefit analysis based decision. What is the risk and what is the benefit in light of any other alternatives? For a vaccine, we really don't have any other alternative. So the demand is very, very high. And as such, the requirements will be lower. However, FDA has to balance both risk and benefit. And on top of it, they have committed to a very high level of transparency about this data that they will publish and they will share with the public. Okay, one key point is that an EUA has limited duration. It is terminated when the Health and Human Services Secretary terminates the emergency that has been declared, such as COVID-19, or FDA decides to revoke an EUA if any of the criteria are no longer satisfied. For example, if you have an unapproved use of an approved medical product under an EUA, if that specific use or indication gets approved in time, maybe it was in the pipeline before the EUA was granted. If it gets approved, EUA is no longer required. Or if the risk-benefit calculation has changed for an EUA product, EUA can be revoked. So this is to keep in mind that it is not infinite amount of time, it's a limited duration. For medical devices, EUA is not the same as 510K or a PMA. So whenever you hear that FDA has approved this vaccine or a medical device or a diagnostics, it is wrong, because it is emergency use authorization, not approval or clearance. Very important difference. And once the EUA expires or revoked, the medical product cannot be legally marketed. So if your product is under an EUA and you want it to be available in the market, you have to apply for a 510K or a PMA, or in case of a drug or a biological, a BLA or an NDA. Here is the guidance. I will give you this link as part of this video. You can take a look at this for detail and understand exactly what is required to receive an EUA. So now I will walk you through the FDA's EUA website. Let's take a look into that. This is FDA's Emergency Use Authorization website. You can find it through this link at the top or simply searching in Google for FDA EUA. As soon as you do that, the first link is for this particular website. And there's a lot of information here. You can scroll down. First, I want to share with you this particular video. It's a very short video. You can take a quick look at that.
Americans rely on the FDA to evaluate whether medical products, such as drugs, diagnostic tests, and other medical devices, have been shown to be safe and effective. When a public health emergency hits, like the infectious disease outbreak we're facing with COVID-19, there may be an urgent need for products to diagnose, treat, or prevent a medical threat.
So you can watch this video. This section gives you the background, the legal authority for FDA's EUA authorities. Here's a lot of other details, guidances, but this is the most important section. All the EUAs for this particular emergency has been categorized under these links. In vitro diagnostic products, we already know more than 200 diagnostic products have been authorized for emergency use. PPE, ventilators and other medical devices, and drug and biological products. This is where you will find information about a vaccine that has received an EUA. So let's click into that. There are already some products authorized under an EUA. On the right hand side, you will have the link to all the documentation that are associated with those EUAs. So let me give you an example of in vitro diagnostic product that I have reviewed very recently. This was at-home test kit from Lucira Health. This link will give you the letter of authorization, which introduces the product, tells you what this is, gives you the conditions of authorization and responsibilities for manufacturers and authorized distributors. Healthcare providers, any labeling requirements that are required are all mentioned here. One of the other documents that I really like to review is the IFU, which is also shown on this particular link. For example, here, you will see the Lucira COVID-19 all-in-one test kit, which has a lot of details. Again, tells you more about the test, how it is done, what are the steps, the procedures, limitations. But to me, the most important section really is here, where they talk about the LOD, they talk about cross-reactivity, they give you data related to clinical evaluation and any usability studies they might have done. So there's a lot of information that you can look up. Here is a clinical evaluation. Here is how the samples compared against another comparator test based on the CT value. So there's a lot of good information there. So you will find a similar information on the vaccine candidates as well. So I highly recommend you to take a look at this. All these conditions of authorization, the data, everything will be presented here. So I hope this is useful. We went over at a very high level what are the criteria that FDA uses. 2 key points. There's a finite time limitation on the validity of this EUA. Once it is revoked or expires, you can no longer legally market the product without receiving the formal approval. And it is not the same as approval. That's a very important thing to keep in mind. So whenever you hear the term approval, it is wrong. It is authorization for emergency use. We went through the FDA's website, which is a great resource for you. Please go check it out and look up all the information that has been published there in order for you to make an informed decision. As always, I remain available to you for any questions or comments you might have. Look me up on LinkedIn or drop me a comment or a note. Let me know what's on your mind. I hope all of you are staying safe in these difficult circumstances. I want to thank you for your interest and attention, and I hope to hear from you.